In your view, why has this talk about the drums of war suddenly bubbled up now?
Well, tensions between China and Taiwan go back a long time. They've certainly intensified in the last several years, but there's nothing to underpin an analysis which says that there is any crisis imminent. That's why, frankly, I've been puzzled by the drums of war language, or Dutton's language as Minister for Defence, refusing to rule out the possibility of war with China over the Taiwan Straits. So what's my argument? My interpretation is that this is primarily about a piece of domestic political repositioning by the government, simply to change the domestic political narrative and agenda from areas where the government's in trouble, on vaccines, on climate change, and if you like, on sexual abuse scandals in Canberra, to what they would regard as much safer political terrain, namely the khaki terrain of a national security agenda. I think it's primarily about politics.
You say there are no signs at the moment of any kind of war. Do you think that in this COVID and soon-to-be post-COVID era that the chance of a regional war sparked by Taiwan is any greater than it was before?
Not particularly, and the reason I say that is that Xi Jinping is marching to the beat of his own drum on this and China's own national agenda. Certainly the analysis of my think tank in the United States on this question points to real probabilities and possibilities of China beginning to take direct assertive action towards the end of the 2020s, but not now. And therefore, again, I go back to the wisdom and, frankly, the lack of wisdom of people like Dutton as Defence Minister or any Australian Cabinet Minister publicly speculating on the possibilities of war at this stage. It just throws fuel on the fire unnecessarily. We've got enough problems to deal with China already without throwing this one on the top.
I'll come to those problems in a second, but I wanted to ask, first of all, the federal government was today once again talking about expanded defence activities in the Northern Territory. This was also going on under the previous Labor government as well. Why does Australia need enhanced defence capability in the Northern Territory?
Well, during our period in office, of course, we negotiated with the Obama administration the positioning of US forces in Darwin, the additional Marine forces, together with the pre-positioning of certain equipment for the United States Armed Forces. We saw that as necessary as part of the US overall strategy of pivoting to the region. And certainly in terms of our northern defence bases, I have no argument at all about the strengthening of those facilities and the enhancement of those facilities. But remember, Leigh, this stands in stark contrast if the rationale for this is China, with a government which decided that it was smart to authorise a 99-year lease for the port of Darwin to the Chinese, for God's sake. It stands in complete contrast to what the government is now talking about and doing.